Hey, good evening, all. Welcome to this week's episode of Paranormal Lens, sponsored by Jotnick's Paranormal. My name is Jamie Widener, along with Chad Thomas. One of these sides of my left or right.
Somewhere.
You're here somewhere. I can hear you. I can see you, actually. So
Oh,
I
that's
know you're. What's up, buddy?
not too much. How are you, Jamie?
I am tired, and I'm going to tell you something. I went to a concert last night, and I'm going to have to ask you to speak up.
What's that? I can't hear you.
And if anybody's planning on putting any comments in, you're gonna have to type loudly so I can hear you. Man, I'll tell you this: I went to see 4 bands at Hershey Park Arena Stadium. A band called the Linda Lindas, brand new, on the way up. 4 teenage girls, super great. They were a lot of fun. A punk band called Rancid. If you know, you know. Never saw them. Wanted to see them for a long time. The Smashing Pumpkins, classic, awesome, and headline of all of it was Green Day. So, wow, what a fun day! What a fun evening and into the night. So, not enough sleep, not enough hydration, too much sun, and my ears are still ringing. Let's do this. What could go wrong?
Jamie, you are not as young as you used to be. You realize that, or you do now? I bet.
Yeah, I'm not, and I stayed far away from the mosh pit thing it was going on, like I've been there and done that, probably have a little brain damage to prove it. But no, I was in the back, so
Wow.
I kept my distance, but still a lot of fun. So if anybody's out there and they're in your area, go see them. It's worth the money and worth the time. They rock as well as they did back in '94. So
Well, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah. What about you? What's going on with you? It was a long holiday weekend. What'd you do?
I worked the whole time,
Of course.
Except for yesterday.
Apparently,
what's that?
That's what adults do now, right?
Yeah. So, but it was a holiday overtime all weekend, so you can't complain about that.
Nope.
And then yesterday, took one of the young ones out to see some friends out in Western PA and dropped them off to see their friend. And I saw my friend and wandered around in the woods for 2 hours with my camera after taking a 2-hour nap. I mean, that's a great day in itself. So
it is. Jeez.
So
wait, did you nap in the woods though?
I could have. I mean, their house is in the middle of the woods, so sort of.
Okay.
But
that's the thing. Like, when you get out there, the breeze starts going, things start rustling a little bit. It's cooler, it's calm, nature sounds.
Yeah.
But then I turn the TV on and could do that anywhere. So
yeah, I could have fallen asleep out in the woods. It would have been nice, but I didn't. So
you didn't. You took some pictures.
I did. Yeah.
Scrolling in. So. Good for you.
Yeah. So
see, we both have totally different things that we did. We're both like, yay, felt good. So
yeah,
awesome. Well, we're not here to talk about that.
No,
I mean, as fun as it is, right? I have an interesting topic for you tonight.
Okay.
So we are going to talk about Pawleys Island Ghost, and for those who don't know, Pawleys Island is in South Carolina. Pawleys Island is a barrier island, just like when you come to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, string of barrier islands protecting the mainland. Fortunately, also hit pretty hard usually when storms come up the coast, but a beautiful, idyllic place otherwise. South Carolina, the weather's great all year round. So tourist destination, but not the Myrtle Beach kind of thing where it's like everybody knows that. A little bit more off the beaten path, but those who know, kind of if you know, you know moments. And it's almost actually perfectly halfway between Myrtle Beach and Charleston, which is another really cool place to go.
Okay.
So we'll start with that. So Pawleys Island is a barrier. Sorry.
I was going to say, is it an island?
It technically is, although it's not as much an island as it used to be. Very much like Fort Mifflin now in Philadelphia. When we were there, it's kind of, we can walk in it now, but once upon a time with higher water and maybe a little different channel lines, there was something different about it that made it be completely surrounded. There's a causeway coming in, but there's also a landline. So it's interesting.
Okay.
Jenny, welcome. Marie, welcome. Thanks for coming. So it is that. So it is a small barrier island in Georgetown County, South Carolina, almost halfway between Myrtle Beach and Charleston. Like I said, the
Mhm.
land was originally occupied, like all lands, by the Native Americans. This was the Wackamal tribe and also the Winya Native American tribes. The Spanish, as you can understand, in the southern part of our country, were the first Europeans to arrive. They got here in 1521 and began colonization. And of course, you can imagine that had a devastating effect on the local native population as they brought all the problems and diseases with them. So the tribe soon moved away and left the area to the Spanish. But it wasn't Pawleys Island back then. That wasn't an official name until after he inherited the land through a land grant to his father from the British Crown. So we're talking in the 1700s by now, late 1600s, early 1700s.
Okay.
What's really cool about it is you can see some of these images here. It's one of those pretty places. And what I find interesting is that the island itself bans any commercial or industrial buildings, minus a condo complex that snuck in somewhere back in the 70s, and condos snuck in everywhere in the 70s, right?
Right.
There's a few grandfathered hotel inn type settings. Otherwise, it is just residential, and there are places. There's a Publix, but it doesn't look like a Publix. It looks like it blends right in to the rest of the country, which is all an island kind of fare. And the island itself is on the National Historic Register of Historic Places, securing or preserving its spot in American history. And I'll explain
Okay.
some.
So the whole island is on the registry.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right.
So, Amanda, Jim, thanks for joining us.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, Bert, good evening. So let's talk about some hauntings, because we're talking about a ghost, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about a few things here, but the most common or prevalently known thing about Pawleys Island is the gray man. And unfortunately, there's no images of the gray man, so I'm borrowing some art and some kind of graphics that were designed to imply that who he is. But the gray man is the most famous ghost from the Pawleys Island area. And if you ask any local, they'll tell you that if you see him, you need to get out of Pawleys Island in a hurry. Okay. That's because anytime anyone has ever spotted the spirit of the gray man, a horrible hurricane has swept through Pawleys Island shortly thereafter. So,
okay,
you see the dude, go the other way. The gray man is always spotted along the beach wearing all gray clothing. And in some accounts, he speaks to people, but in others, he just appears in front of them and then vanishes. However, for those who know the legend of the gray man, this is more than enough of a warning just to see him. Dating back to 1822 and continuing through Hurricane Florence in 2018, there are several stories behind the ghost of the gray man, but no one is quite certain who the man actually was. So let's talk about some of the tales.
Okay.
So, one, according to one legend, a young woman was walking the windswept, lonely beach not far from her parents' Pawleys Island home. She was in mourning for her childhood sweetheart who had recently died in a tragic accident on the island. Her love had returned to Georgetown by ship after an absence of several months. Some accounts share that he was away at college in Europe, and others say that he was attending to business in nearby Charleston. Either way, he was so eager to see his beloved fiancée that rather than wasting one more precious moment away from her, he took a shortcut across previously untraveled marshland. With his faithful manservant riding a short distance behind, the eager fellow and his horse came to a sudden stop and began to sink rapidly into a patch of deadly quicksand. Ooh. His manservant watched in horror, unable to help his young master, as the young man and his horse disappeared into the mire.
Wow.
Right. Now, I won't get too far ahead of this, but I know one thing, and I'll tell you a story later too about a very similar experience I had in marshland back in high school, on a school trip. But one thing about quicksand is it's not quick. So I'm a little surprised by that, but there may be a reason. Okay. When the young woman heard of her fiance's tragic death, she was heartbroken. After the funeral, she took to walking the stretch of beach where she and her beau used to stroll in happier times. This particular day was windier than most, but it suited her recent mood. She was alone with her sadness in the whipping wind, with the ocean crashing by her side. Suddenly, a figure appeared ahead. As she walked closer, the young woman could have sworn it was her fiance. With no fear, she walked toward him. "Leave the island at once," he said. "You're in danger. Leave the island." Then he disappeared. The young lady hurried home to tell her mother and father about the strange, unsettling experience.
Mm-hmm.
Upon hearing her daughter's strange story, her parents immediately began making plans to leave Pawleys Island for their inland home. They did not know what danger they were fleeing, but they did know that their daughter was a sensible person and not prone to flights of fancy. The family left Pawleys Island before dawn the following morning. That night, as they lay sleeping in the safety of their inland home, a fierce hurricane ravaged Pawleys Island. The hurricane destroyed most of the homes, but the home of the young woman's family was undamaged.
Interesting.
Yes.
So I got chills when you hit that one part, Jamie. So I don't know. So
yeah, it's something, right? Like, and there's a little bit of a theme here. So let me go to the second.
Before you get to that, Marie had a question. Do you know anyone who has seen the ghost?
Not personally, no. But I do understand through just a little bit of research that I've, and the thing is, hurricanes don't always hit Pawleys Island. Sometimes they move up the coast and they kind of go around or don't really land there. So, the most devastating impact was back in 2018. Was the last hurricane that actually landed there. So there are tales every time, though, of someone saying they have. And like all paranormal things, no one has a camera up and at the moment. In the next story, there's an encounter or a situation where folks have encountered the gray man, and it would be a perfect moment to whip out your cell phone, and either take a video, take a picture, catch the audio. But the story's from 1989, and we didn't have these things yet.
No, not quite.
Nobody had time to pull out their 35 millimeter, get the f-stop set just right, turn the focus, just the right, and move to the right light. And I'm joking to say that, but that's how the world was once upon a time. It wasn't like done. So the capture really is the challenge, and with the unpredictability. Now we know. I'll say this too. I mean, this first story, the family didn't know a hurricane was coming because back in the 1800s we didn't have the the technology and all the science that we have now to predict what's coming and to know what's coming and then be able to tell the track of it with some good accuracy. So the story tells it was a windswept day. It was overcast, that kind of stuff. So it was a portent that there was a storm coming, but to what severity, no one knew.
No clue. Yeah.
Yep, no clue it was coming. You imagine, also in this era, being out on a ship, especially one that, sail rigged ship, just at the mercy of the world, Mother Nature, and, coming across such a storm. Now we avoid them, we turn ships away from them, and we're not at the liberty of wind power per se. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, so let's go to the second encounter. So again, in 1989. Jim and Clara Moore encountered the mysterious figure just 2 days before Hurricane Hugo roared ashore. We were taking a walk in the afternoon, which we usually do, Jim said, and this is classic 1989. This was said to an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Does that not take you back?
Was it Robert Stack?
Robert Stack, yes, that's the guy. You saw that dude showing up on your screen. Something bad happened. Yeah, Unsolved Mysteries. You see so many people walking on the beach at that time of day. That particular afternoon, we only saw the one, and he was coming directly toward us. When I got to within speaking distance, I raised my hand to say hi or a beautiful evening, and he disappeared. Hurricane Hugo decimated Jim and Clara's neighborhood, but the couple's home suffered little damage. Clara attributes the good fortune to the gray man and, of course, the Lord. So, let's take a look at the effects of Hugo here on these next slides. There was a pier, as most of the coastal towns have. There's the pier that goes out for fishing and maybe a little entertainment. Totally gone. And the city itself was underwater for quite a while. Many homes were lost. But again, by some grace, Jim and Clara's house was spared largely. What's the gray man? While we're on hurricanes, too, I'll give you a quick fun fact. So we did not start naming them, or even tropical cyclones as they were called back then, until 1887. So not that long ago, but long ago.
Right.
And originally all hurricanes were male names.
Mm-hmm.
The first female name was introduced in 1954, and the current system of alternating male and female names in the Atlantic at least started in 1979. And the list of names is recycled every 6 years. So if you are hit by somebody, say Hugo, 6 years from now, he might come back, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, just get out of the way. So there are other tales of the gray man. They largely go with the tale of, right before a storm, someone sees him, and he doesn't always speak. Certainly at times he's just visible for a while and then he disappears. So, but Pawleys Island is also known for some other things. And there are quite a few, actually. I was really surprised. I feel we need to touch on some of this as well.
Okay.
So here we have a place called the Pelican Inn. And there are quite a few ghost stories surrounding the Pelican Inn, including stories of 2 Boston Terriers. This is our first time we've talked about parapets, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least that I can recall specifically. It is said that these 2 dogs were once owned by an old caretaker of the inn. However, one of the dogs died when it swam into the ocean to save a drowning boy. The dog unfortunately died from his heroic action, and the second Boston Terrier died soon after from loneliness. Oh. People claim to see the dogs and hear the dogs barking while they're at the Pelican Inn. The gray man is also tied to the Pelican Inn, and many who work there have claimed to see him on multiple occasions. Employees have also reported sightings of a woman dressed in an old gingham gown, but they are unsure who she is. It's just one of those great looking old places, And
yeah, definitely classic seashore.
Yeah.
So
long walkway out to the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, if you go left or right off of that thing, you're in the marsh too, and there's the quicksand getting you.
Exactly.
So no
Jamie,
handrails though. No handrails.
No. Shane says
Southern safety right there.
So Shane says, "What's up, Jamie?"
Hey, how you doing, Shane?
And Kyle.
Hey, Kyle.
So anyway,
next up, and this one's really interesting. All Saints Episcopal Church Cemetery. In addition to the Gray Man, the ghost of Alice Flagg is another extremely popular legend in the Pawleys Island area. Legend has it that Alice Flagg was the sister of a wealthy man named Dr. Allard Flagg. They lived at the Hermitage, a plantation in nearby Murrells Inlet, which is a smidge to the north. In the classic sense of love knowing no class structure, Alice fell in love with a young lumberman. And that's a great word, lumberman.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine like the guy on the paper towel, the brawny guy. That's what this guy looked like. Let's just go there. However, despite her feelings, Alice's brother disapproved of the couple being together and forced the man away. But Alice and the man secretly became engaged, and she was given a ring. When Dr. Flagg found out, he demanded that she give the ring back, and he sent her away to boarding school in Charleston, where she contracted malaria. She was brought back home to the Hermitage and soon died. Upon her death, Dr. Flagg discovered the engagement ring attached with a ribbon under Alice's dress. He removed the ring and threw it into the marsh. Alice was buried in the All Saints Episcopal Church Cemetery without her beloved ring. To this day, when people visit her grave, a flat stone that simply says Alice, people feel a tug on their own wedding rings. Others have spotted her walking out of the front door of the Hermitage in her white dress with one hand clutched to her chest. Others still claim to have seen Alice walking around the marsh looking for her ring. Many people who visit Alice's grave leave her rings and other gifts to help ease her troubled soul. Superstition has it that if you start at the right bottom of her gravestone and walk around it 6 times counterclockwise and then 6 times more clockwise, stopping at the letter A on her marker, you can place a token of recognition upon the resting place, make a wish, and it will be granted. We got to go, dude. We got to go.
I was going to say, that'll be a lot shorter walk than the last walk we did around.
That's true. a lot safer, too. But speaking of that, like, because this is so what we would do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I came across the following story from strangecarolinas.com. And since it seems like something we would do, I thought I'd share it. Quote, so we decided to see if we could make Alice appear. We were told that the best chances of sighting happened at night, but we couldn't find a night visit on our schedule. Instead, we went the same day. Hometown Honeymoon from Hell, a movie based on her life, premiered on Lifetime. So there's something to catch up on. Figuring that would make her good and agitated. It's starting on the wrong foot already.
Uh-huh.
We walked backwards around her grave 13 times and put a ring on her gravestone. Although by the looks of things, people also believe coins, ribbons, glow bracelets, and cans of beans also work. Nothing happened. We waited a few minutes, still nothing. Dejected, we paid our respects to Alice and headed back to the car. Not even the threat of a Lifetime movie selling her legend would bring Alice out for that day.
Yeah, but they didn't follow the directions. Like, where did 13 times backwards come into the play? And
I would love to see these guys doing this. Like, what are,
right.
Now, look, for those who weren't with us then, but almost a year ago, we went to a local cemetery, and that has its own legend, the Hansgrohe Cemetery, just north of just below Bainbridge, PA, north above Marietta. A completely walled cemetery with no gates. It has a legend that if you walk around it 7 times by the light of a full moon, you will. Hold on, I'm forgetting some of this here, Chad. A white werewolf will appear and take you by dawn.
Yeah.
So of course we had to do this, and many others have done it as well. Some members of our team and some others we know.
And we're still here.
Yeah, we documented it, and nothing. But there was some rustling in the woods nearby. Like it's near a community, but it's not that close. And there's some fields and woodland there, so we did have some rustling and some strange things. But yeah, we made it. So debunked.
Yeah.
And even walked inside the fence or the wall just in case. But the fact that there's a wall around this whole thing without a gate is the weirdest thing.
Right.
And why? So,
so Jamie, talking about that is about 8 episodes from being released on the podcast network stuff. So
yeah, we're coming up on it. I noticed that.
So anyway, Amanda said it feels like we're listening to ghost stories around a campfire, and she loves it. And Marie wants to know how true that is. With Alice's their stone.
Yeah, I agree. And the story doesn't sound fantastical, and it's not an unusual story either, where somebody, people fall for each other, class structure, separation. I'm sure the Flags were well to do. They had to be. They had a plantation and a big name on it. The Hermitage is a big name kind of thing. And this is the South, and it's antebellum. The properties are still well maintained. It's still beautiful. Actually, I'm sorry. This is pre-Civil War, so this is in the heyday of the South. So everything's grand. Yeah, and a lumberman would be considered a low-class guy. Just a worker. Certainly not to the level of Alice by her brother's decision. So, that's how it goes. And the malaria, I think is tragic in its own right, because that's to now you get malaria, you take some drugs, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
But in that era, that was a death sentence.
Yeah.
So it's really all of it's very sad. And how much spins after that, because the heartbreak that she went through, being sent away, all that stuff. So
mm-hmm.
There's truth in there somewhere. I think more than we think, even Marie. Yeah. So,
but
it's all tragic, sad though.
I also agree. I'm not sure where this can of beans comes from.
Well, in that era too. I mean, cans were just recently introduced, so and can openers didn't come around until the 1900s. So, I hope they can open it. Maybe she can't. That's why it's there.
Who knows?
Oh my gosh! All right, we got more. Let's move on. So, the next place is a Litchfield Plantation. This is again one of those great southern properties. The ghost at Litchfield Plantation is a friendly one. In fact, the most famous ghost that haunts the Litchfield Plantation is Dr. Henry Tucker, a member of one of the last families that owned the property. Many people have reported seeing him in the house's blue room, and no one has felt intimidated by him. In addition to in addition to Dr. Tucker's ghost, the other people other people have reported. I'm sorry, I got glasses and I can't read. In addition to Dr. Tucker's ghost, other people have seen strange lights and the ghosts of maids moving quietly through the property, as they would have. So, quite a few things going on in Pawleys Island. I think, Chad, this might be a road trip.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And I couldn't resist this slide, of course, with the ghost in the marsh. So, to kind of wrap things up, according to local lore, the Gray Man still looms on the island in the days before a storm is set to make landfall. Many believe he is still searching for his love. The not-so-menacing ghost often reveals himself to a select number of people, warning them to leave before the storm hits. Those who see him and heed his warnings return to find their home and property untouched from the passing storm. So, if you're ever on Pawleys Island, look for the Gray Man. And if you own a property, you certainly want to find this guy.
All right.
Okay. So to conclude, the one thing that stands out to me about the Gray Man is that all versions of him are him trying to find a way home to see the woman he loves. Given that his is a love story that does not appear to be storm-related, I have to wonder why the Gray Man appears only to some and why the homes and lives of those people are largely spared from the destructive power of an impending hurricane. What's so special about these people? Could they be descendants of his love? So
maybe.
Yes. So that's my book report. I would like to sort some sources before we go too far here. Of course, our good friends at Atlas Obscura, PawleysIsland.com, the Grand Palms Resort MB.com, Britannica.com, USGhostAdventures.com, and StrangeCarolinas.com for that very funny story of what not to do when you know what you should do.
Okay.
So, Mr. Thomas, what do you think?
I find it interesting that when he's seen, a storm appears.
Yeah.
But the people who see him are spared, or their property is spared.
Right.
Coincidence? Who knows? I just find that intriguing. I mean, as old as that island is, some of the plantation, they're beautiful. I mean, I gotta go just and take my camera and camera bag in one hand and ghost hunting stuff in the other hand. I mean, perfect trip.
Come on, bring it on.
But
it was almost a Zach Baggins moment. You wanted us, here we are.
I
will never do that again, I swear.
Thank you. But no, I think it's they're stories, they're ghost stories. It's is there a bit of truth? I hope so. I mean, I think they're cool. But like Amanda said, like Amanda said, it's like listening to ghost stories around a campfire, and it is. Yeah. It's why we go do this. It's getting involved in seeing what's out there, and it's fun. So it's interesting. But there's history here to research and explore, and tying the two together is what makes it really interesting and fun for me. There's the history and the paranormal. So
yeah, well, I'm gonna go back to the first part of the first bit of the Gray Man. So, taking the shortcut, that has the risk, right?
Right.
Always something goes wrong when you take the shortcut. You're in a hurry. That's when the mischief happens. And add that to quicksand, and I'll tell you the story that happened to me. So in 7th grade, my school had the ability to take a class at Wallops Island Marine Biology Consortium in Wallops Island, Virginia. Okay. You and I know this because we know someone who instructed there, but I did not know him at the time. So, but a friend of the program, Dr. Dave Zegers, who helped us a little bit, at least because he's a biologist, with the the episode on the Jersey Devil.
Right.
Did some research, helped us out there identify what the creature might be, and likely a bat, right? A special bat actually from Africa that would have came over. So Dave doesn't listen, and he's not going to hear me say this, but he was a professor and educator there. His tenure at Millersville University here in our area. So I got there.
And bats were one of his areas of study.
He is Batman, right? So get there. It's an old military base, so barracks to stay in a couple days there at least. You learn all about biology and go out in the marshes and all the stuff. Mm-hmm. And the one thing they told us on day one, I remember being instructed this: do not, while you're on the marsh, step on anyone else's footprint. Okay. Yes, sir. What's the first thing this dumbass did? Was talking to somebody else, not paying attention, and stepped in somebody's footprint. And what it became was a suction that pulled me down almost to my waist in marsh muck. So it took 3 dudes who were all burly football guys to pull me out. And I had nothing but, I almost lost a shoe, by the way, too. That's how much suction there was just trying to get out. A laced up shoe. So I had no choice but to go wander into the water a bit and try to get the stuff up because they wouldn't let me back in the van to go back to the barracks. But it's serious. And that's what I'm saying here.
Right.
It's serious stuff. And, quicksand isn't quick. That is a known thing. But if you get stuck in it and you have no means of escape or resource to get away, the fellow who was with the manservant, with the guy, likely didn't have rope because they wouldn't have. They were probably in a hurry, so they were packed lightly, not knowing the distance back to wherever they came from or wherever they were going. If they were somewhere in between and off the beaten path, they might not have had time to go find something or someone to rescue him. So I can understand how this could happen. Is my point of all the story here, and it's a terrible way to go. It's an absolutely terrible way to go. So
I mean, it's first of all, it's slow.
Yeah. And it's happening.
It's happening. And it's not only is it's not only is it the suffocation, but it's the weight as well. You don't think about that, but it's so much weight that's coming down on you. So
oh, well, there's Amanda saying this, if you've been out in those marshes. I did not have waders. I should have. I guess I should have. Hindsight. But it wouldn't have stopped me from going in. So the point was, spread out, and part of it's too spread out a little bit. You don't have to be on top of each other. You'll see more, you'll experience more, and that was part of it as well. But not cool.
Well, I'm glad you had the 3 burly football players there, Jamie.
I got lucky. Yeah, I was as a freshman, or so was I? I was a 7th grader. I don't even know what that is. Nobody. I was with a class of freshmen. I just happened to get a spot somehow. And I was a nerd. It's fine. Let's be honest. But in that, these kids were older and bigger than me anyway. So I didn't weigh a whole lot back then. But yeah, it was scary. Don't do it.
No.
So here we are back to, all of this. So I guess I have to ask the obvious question. What do you think? Is it haunted, paranormal, any of the above?
I mean, there's as much proof there as some other places. So, I'm skeptical, and skeptical but intrigued. Definitely, would enjoy the trip to find out. So, as you called out earlier and Bert called out, it's road trip time.
We have, every time we do an episode, we're like putting pins on the map, at some point we've got to go. So I don't know. South Carolina is beautiful any time of the year. I've had the privilege of spending some time in the state in a couple different seasons, and there's no wrong. There is when the hurricane's coming. Don't get me wrong. That's not the good time to be there. So right now, no. But over the next through the fall and into the winter, even, oh my gosh, it's just great. So food's delicious. Good old. You can't go wrong with Southern food. The only problem I have with anything in South Carolina is they have a mustard-based barbecue sauce. No, sir. Not my jam.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of them are good.
I'm not trying to offend anybody by that, but no.
So Amanda's saying we should get a calendar together and start getting out there.
True.
So Bert weighed in here, and he thinks it's more folklore.
Okay. And it could be, but we talk about this a lot. We did so many episodes around things like this.
Hmm.
It's safe to say that all folklore starts with something factual. There is some truth in every fantastic story, and
Right.
especially one that's documented over and over. And what would explain that? I mean, and maybe it's hysteria, or some uh, intentional consciousness. To know that a hurricane's coming these days, and being out on the beach and saying you saw the gray man. People say
Right.
stuff to the point that if you fake it till you make it, you say
Right.
it, you believe it. Maybe. I don't know. I,
Yeah.
I think there is some truth in all of these stories. It's just how much of it, and I can believe some more than others. Like the Boston Terriers, the one
Hmm.
drowning and the other, dying because they're lonely. Yeah, we don't know how old they were, and
Right.
any other issue to them. But I can see that being a true story,
Right.
to a large degree. Now, the haunting of them, and maybe that's someone's sentiment and wish that they were still with them. Maybe.
Right.
Um, we've all lost a pet somewhere along the way. We want him back. We've all lost someone along the way and wish we had him back. So
Hmm.
that's okay. It's comfort. I'm okay with that. I really am.
Hmm.
The same thing
And
losing a loved one. The gray man is a loved one. Someone
right.
missed him.
Yeah, it's somebody's energy is there with that. So now Amanda said that I like it. Could be some form of spirit we don't understand that warns people, maybe protects them. I feel like I believe this one a bit more. So
Well, there's something to touch on there too. Thanks, Amanda. That's a good point. There are other areas of the world where there are harbinger spirits that appear to warn people of certain things.
hmm.
In the Midwest, there is a one that warns of tornadoes. In I want to say it's in the Middle East, or someone who allegedly appears at least to warn of Habibs, I believe it's called, the sandstorm. And then in Europe, earthquakes, although they're rare, but apparently at one point there were more than now. The Mothman, that's a post just came in from Amanda. Absolutely, that was a warn as well. So it's not unusual. It's just not for everything, unfortunately.
Right.
Um, and actually, I think in Maine, or I think it's in Maine, there is a lighthouse where an old keeper appears occasionally when there's a really bad storm coming. In the yellow garb, the rain slicker thing.
Hmm.
So that's probably another episode, actually, Chad, at some point. Just
Yeah, I just made a note of that.
yeah, thanks. Glad somebody's. I have nothing with me. Um, and it's funny. The kids went back to school shopping. And this because you went
Hmm.
too. But um, I was, as I was waiting for decisions to be made, and the painfulness of that process. Just it's a tablet, just pick one kind of thing, or a folder,
Hmm.
just pick one.
It's
I
never that
found
easy.
a nice small composition notebook that I got for myself that I am keeping notes for, jotting ideas about episodes and other things to talk about. So
Good.
it's a running log, of stuff. So things I see on other people's shows or hear
Hmm.
about, so as well. So, but just ideas. So thank you for noting this one. That's a great
Yep.
idea. And speaking of great ideas, um, I think this might be the best one. Bert says, I say we all retire and hit the road. Yes,
Uh-huh.
sir. We know you're a coach driver, so got you covered. Let's do it.
Yeah. We,
So for
we
me, well, for
in
me,
the
Chad, just to put my 2 cents toward all of this,
sure.
I think the same. There's some truth in this, but there's also some fantasticalness. In stories, we talk about this a lot. Stories transition every time they're told to a little bit, more of this teller than it is of the truth of the story.
Right.
So, like Whisper Down the Lane, what starts is not what ends. Often, anyway, the telephone game, whatever you want to call that.
Right.
So I think, though, at the heart of it all, there is a true story, and something was lost. Someone was lost. The relationship to a hurricane, not sure what that means, but it's interesting as well. It certainly
Right.
creates a buzz. And it gives that reason for people to pay attention. Jimmy Buffett, great line from one of his songs, "Don't try to reason with the hurricane season." You get that warning, people don't leave,
Right.
and this may give them that reason. They say they saw the gray man and they'll be safe. Maybe. Um,
Right.
but they
Yeah,
should
but
go.
the interesting thing is everybody who sees him leaves and then comes back and finds that their stuff has been
Largely
that
passed.
been largely passed, because he is the warning that saying, warning, you should leave. So,
well, that's true. Actually, that's the other side of it. That's this is a first for me, Jenny. Nobody ever agrees with me, so thank you. I appreciate that. 2 thumbs on that one. That's another reason to follow warnings, right? You should go. This is probably your last warning. So,
right.
If you're gonna be that close that he's appearing before a storm, it's imminent. So get out.
Yep.
Get out the house. Well, thanks for indulging me with all of this. It was a fun one to research.
Nice job as usual, Jamie. It's fun hearing. It's fun hearing some ghost stories like this. We've done a lot of research and there are a lot of historical but just to have 3 or 4 ghost stories strung together in a row like that, that's fun.
It was fun to do as well for me. And like, as soon as I saw, I knew about the Gray Man from an Atlas Obscura blog post a while back, and okay, let's jot this one down. Same idea, we're just there. And then as I started looking at Pawleys Island, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's more. It felt like an infomercial. Like, wait, there's more. And it kept going. And the Alice Flag thing is so uniquely different than traditional haunts. And I think I took it to heart because of our experience, with the Hans Graf Cemetery. So we did something that relates to what you would do if you did it there.
Right.
And that story just cracks me up. Like, how to completely fail at reading instructions.
Well, again, how did some of these, and a bird's comment here, is not all good stories are paranormal.
That's true.
Which is very true. But
most of them are good. They're paranormal. Come on, Bert.
So how do we get to the point where walking, how did these start? Walking around the Hans Graf Cemetery 7 times under the light of a moon. Like, who does that?
Light of a full moon, sir.
And light of a full moon
will do.
And I when I say who does that, I know we do, but who does that the first time? Like, and what 6 times one direction, 7 times another direction, stopping at the A, like, where do these come from? Like, is the question.
I have an answer, and I've had this answer a couple times in other episodes. It's a parent or guardian trying to say something to the kids to scare them not to do stupid stuff. Don't be out at night. Don't mess around with the cemetery. Right. And there's this. Bert the drunken vet, of course. Right. But it always seems to me it comes back to that.
Right.
That's a dingo neck. The we've done so many episodes. I'm drawing blanks on them already. This is terrible. Siguanaba. The idea of unmarried sex.
Right.
That kind of thing. Like, if that happens, this will happen to you. Like, she'll get you.
Right.
They're all tales to scare and
right. Well, the
modify behavior
right.
to don't do stupid stuff. I mean, that's just every parent's advice to their kids, right? Don't do dumb things.
Right.
But they still do.
Right.
So you have to have a consequence. Hans Graf, if you do this, a werewolf will come and get you. What's more scary than a werewolf? At least to a kid.
Right.
So
yeah,
this was also an era we didn't have horror films and all the gore and gunk that we have now. So
was the puka supposed to scare you away from drinking altogether? Is that?
I don't think that's possible. Is it? Is it?
No.
I don't know. But again, you can have a pint or two at the pub, but don't do stupid stuff on the way home.
Right.
Get home before dark. Stay on the path. The idea is just don't do it. So, yeah.
So, all right. So yeah, very, very interesting. Well done, Jamie. So,
thanks. All right. Well, let's anything else from you guys at all? I mean, thanks for all the comments so far. We really appreciate the engagement tonight. This is really cool to see so much. I keep every time Bert's comment hasn't scrolled up yet at the retire and hit the road. I'm not there yet, buddy, but we will get there someday.
Yeah. And he drives a coach. He drove a coach at one point. There's touring buses that the roadies use, Jamie. They're bunks and they're a bus. Like,
oh, dude, I saw a gazillion of them last night. So
I bet.
yep.
Yeah, that's we could hit everything mainland US, then we could, get one in Europe,
It's true.
we could be going for a while.
This is it. Cashing out. Hit the road.
Well, why don't we look at what Bert's in? So
you're in. I know better.
We may as well look at what we've got coming up that could be other spots on our road trip.
That's true. We're not done filling up that dance card yet.
No, definitely not. So next week, I told you before that I'm doing the Selma Mansion. I've lined up 3 or 4 of the women who work closely at Selma Mansion with different events there. Some people who are well versed in the history. So that should be a really interesting show. We're gonna have some people who've been there, who've researched, who have investigated.
Very cool.
So that'll be fun. They had one of them coordinates some of the fundraisers. Like there's a psychic fair coming up, so they have insight in some of that stuff as well. Selma Mansion is all with the Norristown Historical Society, so that is happy to see that continuing on like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to spend your time that there's a preservation happening. So
yep. So yeah, Marie agrees that Selma is a great place. So
we're both clicking at the same time again. Sorry.
That's all right. Then we've got the Datlov Pass mystery. We've hit on that before, and another one I'm looking to see what you come up with because I've heard several other podcasts on it. So
it's been around.
Can't wait to see your twist on it. Then the Lost Lighthouse Keepers of Elon Moore. Another one off the, I want to say Irish coast, but that the coast in Europe there. So that'll be fun. I saw a podcast or heard a podcast on that a couple weeks ago. So I'm really looking to dig into my own research, see what I can find. Then the Third Man Syndrome. So I'm interested to see where you're going with that.
Okay. I will not tease anything yet.
Okay.
Because I've yet to start that episode. So I don't have a lot to say yet.
Okay.
By the time we get to the next week, I'll be there.
All right. Wilson Castle. I'm going to be picking that one up in October.
Yeah.
And
looking forward to that one too.
Bert's working on that one for us, Jamie.
I saw some messages flying around. So yes.
And then the Well of Barhoot.
Yep.
So we're looking forward to that one too. See what you got.
And I just don't think we're going to stop on October 15th. We have a little bit of reserve holding here for some opportunities around Halloween to get. We have 2 episodes there right before the day, so we'll fill that in soon.
Yeah.
So
well,
and I'd be remiss to say now that we've rolled into September, but welcome to spooky season, y'all. Let's go have fun with this.
But Jamie, I thought you said in August we were in spooky season.
Dude, it's always spooky season. All right. Now.
Yeah. So
speaking of spooky season,
you want to run with this one?
Go ahead. I'm good.
All right. John Nick's Paranormal has a special event at the brewery coming up on October 19th. Daryl Marston, Ron, and Lourdes with Staticom will be there. It is going to be a fun night. Be definitely interesting. I cannot wait to see what Ron and Lourdes come up with.
Yeah, agreed.
I think, and I could be wrong, but I think the plan is to set them up in the ballroom upstairs, because their stuff doesn't move very quickly. So I think they're gonna sit up in the ballroom, and that'll be fun. And, maybe we'll get some stuff in German.
Oh, that'd be great.
So,
well, I did ask that question a while back of them, and whether or not they're capturing anything in other languages other than English, of course, because that's what we speak. But they're like, absolutely, which is, it makes sense. We are not the only language And sorry, I'm laughing at this comment from Bert. Is that a mini bottle of Jack? No, sir. It is pure leaf peach hibiscus tea. That's my age now.
Mm-hmm.
It is tea, I swear.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm drinking it because it's caffeine free. So
those are pretty good. But anyway, yeah, they definitely have caught different languages.
They've definitely got other languages, and in that, the ability to register that, and because they're catching full sentences and phrases, it's more than just that blurb of a word that you're just not sure what was that. A lot of times I think that's a problem I think all of us have, in the field, where we may capture something, but it's because it's not clear English. We're not sure what it is, and we just kind of miss some things. And we can't run everything through Google Translate and all that, and to get there. But I think that might be this helps because of the way this works.
Right.
It will definitely help capture more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marie Dixieland, I'm pretty sure, has been to the brewery a couple times. So
cool. Yep. Well, we can coordinate that.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Someone who speaks Bert, with someone who should speak German should be with us for Staticom. That's a great point.
So that's coming up on October 19th. Let's see. We've got well, Marie, here you go. Here's a bunch of public investigations that you can join us anytime for those. And I'm pretty sure your group has done some private investigations, which are available anytime, mostly Friday nights, but you can sign up for those through the brewery. They'll point you to Melissa. But September 7th, which is this weekend, Jamie, it's been a while.
Here we are.
So public investigation this weekend. There's definitely plenty of tickets left for that one. Then the 28th, the 12th of October, the 16th of November, and December 7th are all public investigations. Like we keep saying, I can't believe we've got the end of the year listed out here already. We're in that coming down the backstretch. So
it's absolutely amazing.
So, but yeah, it is a great place to investigate. We have a lot of fun there. A lot of interaction. I mean, it depends on the night. Sometimes we are sitting in the dark talking to ourselves. So,
I'm still waiting for somebody to walk out of the wall and introduce themselves too. But it's gonna happen, dude. It's gonna happen.
Maybe,
gotta believe.
Yeah. I mean, Melissa's seen doors open, so the next thing is just somebody walking through it.
That's true. It's very true.
So
we but last time we were there, she and I were standing in the ballroom, kind of in the front of the room, and the group that was there was all in the back by the bedrooms, along the mirror wall. And there's a table right off the stair, like the left that we take to go down the stairs, and something dark moved completely across that area and toward the stairs. And we both looked at each other, and I didn't say this delicately. I'm like, what the F was that? And she's like, you saw that? I'm like, well, yeah. And in true investigator style, we went toward it instead of away from it.
Right.
Couldn't debunk it. No one else was there. No one was moving around. There wasn't a guest coming down or hotel guest coming down the stairs. There was no other reason for that to darken out like that, and especially to move from right to left. So you never know. That's why you got to pay attention, right? You're always looking and listening and sensing. So
yeah, I mean, and that sometimes I feel that's my problem is I'm always looking at equipment.
Yeah,
and I've been told in some readings and some other people, trust your instincts, trust your intuition, trust your senses. But I'm still tied to that equipment, and I gotta get over that. And one of these days.
Well, sir, in the words of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke, let go, use the Force.
Yeah,
remember I said about nerd earlier? There it is again.
There it is. So
I'm gonna go step in a footprint and sink in the muck.
Anyway.
Moving
on from that, here's how you can get in touch with us. Facebook, you found us here on Facebook or YouTube. We do have TikTok, Instagram. Email us. We're still waiting for that first fan email at paranormallenspodcast@gmail.com. And we are putting everything up on Spotify, which sends it out to Apple Music, Audible, iHeartRadio podcasts now, Jamie. We're covering them all.
Wow.
So all the big ones, at least.
Very cool. All right, and we're slowly yet steadily uploading past episodes. This is season 2, so season 1 is coming, and a lot of are up already. But there's 62, I believe, episodes from season 1. So I want to say we probably have 15 or 20 up. So there's a lot more coming.
Mm-hmm.
But
go
ahead.
I was gonna say we have day jobs.
Yeah, we do. They get in the way. They really do. They help us pay for stuff. So like equipment, stream.
Yeah.
Go figure. That circles back though to upcoming topics you saw that we're working on, but that doesn't mean that's everything. And if there's something you'd like to see or us do or hear about or anything you want to share with us, feel free. Drop us a comment here. Drop us a comment in an episode if you watch us on one of those platforms. Use the email address. Let us know. And the same thing when you're out there if you're out there on another platform other than here with us live on a Tuesday at 9, give us a review. We really appreciate it. It's feedback. If your platform allows a comment, let us know how we're doing. Hey, that's great, or I agree, or you suck. I mean, it's all good feedback. Hopefully it's not that. Hopefully it's not that. Hopefully, if you say anybody sucks, it's Chad. Just kidding. Sorry, it's me. I know better.
No.
But in that, it just helps us get better, and it really does matter to us. Your opinion matters. So, we really appreciate this. We wouldn't be doing it if y'all weren't showing up here and other places. So, thanks for your support of Paranormal Lens. Thanks for your support of Jotnik's Paranormal. Look forward to seeing you somewhere soon.
So we thank our viewers who watch later. We thank our new viewers tonight. Marie, glad you could join us tonight. I don't think we've caught you before. But thanks for joining us. We're here every Tuesday night live, and then, like I said, next day on the podcast networks. So
all the streamers.
So any final thoughts, Jamie?
I've run out of gas. That late night last night and a long day today. So I will say goodnight and thanks again, everybody, and look forward to seeing you next week.
And I'm at the same spot you are. So thanks, everybody. We will see you next week, and we'll be talking about Selma Mansion.
Awesome. Yes.
All right. Good night.
Good night all.